So.
The little jingle at the end there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like Django.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guitarist, and he sent me that as a recording off of his phone and said, I don't know if this is right yet. And I said, yeah, that's it. That's it. He said, this is a crappy demo. And I just ended up using it exactly as it was because it already sounded perfect to me. But it's tough with Star Trek. You want it to feel familiar, but stay out of the way and not violate any copyrights.
Yeah, it was really important, as much as we could, to make this our own thing, stay within fair use. With documentaries, you have a little more leeway about what Star Trek images you use, because the concept is if you're taking something that's out there that has copyright and that you're talking about it in such a way that like takes the original series footage and gives it new context, that's similar to creating new content. So that's how you get away from like copyright and stuff. Something like music is, obviously that's just a straight ripoff, so you need to produce that. Got any, yeah?
I'm also kind of curious, what does it feel like to walk onto the Enterprise?
Oh my God. Wow, yeah, we were all there the moment that you walk on there. I think it was Royal, one of the set builders.
Royal Weaver.
He says it best, like when you enter the Enterprise for the first time, you are the age that you were when you first saw the Enterprise. So I was 7 years old. That's how it felt, you know. It was room after room, and the first time that we saw the Enterprise, it was actually during a lunch break, because obviously they're filming there. We can't go in there when they're filming and ruin their audio. So when we had our time, it was during lunch break, and we were trying as hard as we could to use that time wisely to get those bridge shots that you saw. We didn't have a lot of time to waste. We were going room to room and saying, oh, look, this is the greatest thing ever. Gotta go to the next room. And you just keep going. And you can't really soak in all of the wonder. And honestly, you know, after being there for a few days, some of that just becomes your second home. And it's kind of sad when the magic goes away, but when you see it again on the screen, and we were very careful, we tried to shoot the Enterprise in a way that hasn't been shot before. Anytime you see the actual Enterprise, we're trying to shoot it differently to give you some of that back, seeing it for the first time, how we felt when we walked in there.
It's funny, you try to figure out what it is about the ship. I mean, the original Enterprise, it's got great mid-century lines, great primary colors, it's clean. But it's got to be more than that, right? It's what it represents. And I feel like that's the people and it's the stories from the people. So as the documentary was kind of evolving, we were talking about where does it go? What can we do with what we have? The idea that the people making this show, they're the people, they're our closest link to the original people making the show and writing for and creating the characters that made the stories, that made us love that show. So I think there's a lot visually inherently about it, but it is the people and it's the stories, and you know, hopefully we captured a little bit of what it's like to be on the set with the folks that do continues, because I think they've got that spirit.
And that's something that was very important. This wasn't really a Star Trek Continues documentary. We wanted to reach a larger fan base, the full Star Trek fan base, and maybe even beyond that. So what was important is that we were talking about Star Trek, and the Enterprise that we went to, Star Trek Continues Enterprise, is the closest one. That's why we had to go there. We had, you know, no budget. So it was kind of an accident when we start talking about Continues. It's kind of hard not to when you're on their set and when you see all of that love. But what we tried to do to as much as we could is talk about the legacy of Star Trek. What we ended up doing was we had our main part of the documentary, the Star Trek documentary, and then it cuts and we see some Star Trek Continues credits, and then it goes to Vic, who plays the Captain Kirk on Star Trek Continues. And that's basically, the idea is that we have Star Trek, and the idea of, like, we talk about a better future, what humanity can become, and what we found there is that at Continues, all these people are putting so much effort and love into doing this impossible thing on a budget that you cannot, like, understand. It doesn't make sense what they can produce for the money that they do. they are Star Trek. They're living a betterment of themselves. They have a dream and they decide to go for it, and it's right in front of you, a better world. And it would be a dumb idea not to use that as an example of, hey, here's Star Trek. Look at it, it's happening. More questions?
I'm just curious if any of you have a favorite episode or a favorite moment from the original series.
No.
What about Continues? Do you guys have a favorite episode of Continues?
Yes.
Why?
Okay. Do you want to?
I
Let's-
like.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do an original series and then continue.
Okay, this is actually pretty cool because my favorite episode of the original series is probably Mirror Mirror, and then of course Continues has Fairest of Them All, which is more a continuation of that story. So it's a pretty easy
Yeah.
pick for me.
My favorite original series is probably A Private Little War. There's so many times where my dad is watching Fox News and they're talking about
No politics.
Oh, there weren't politics in Star Trek?
There's a conversation that comes up every several years. I don't understand this. This makes no sense to me about how we should arm somebody. And A Private Little War said it so long ago, don't do it. And I guess politicians don't watch Star Trek, don't do it. My favorite Continues episode is also the Mirror episode. I've watched that episode so many times. And, it's so great, but watching it so many times, it starts to lose something, You're saying all the words as it's happening, and you can't experience it for the first time. Watching the Continues episode was like watching Mirror Mirror for the first time, but as an adult where I can appreciate it in a different way, they gave something back to me. I can't even explain what that means.
I liked it because it showed logic made sense in no matter what universe you were in. I thought that was really cool.
Are you guys original series fans as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorites?
I don't want to skip over you, Chris.
I have to come clean. I don't know that. I haven't experienced Star Trek that much to speak. I'm more on the filmmaking side. So, forgive me.
Spare 5 months, you can catch up.
Yeah, I realized it was a really big endeavor too. It's not something you can just, watch one episode and then say you know everything about it. So,
If you do the math, December was more than 5 months ago. We've been telling her that.
I love a good time travel conundrum. So, City on the Edge of Forever. I know it's a common fan favorite, but I just think it hits a lot of great notes. And I also love the Mirror episode. I think it's a bold thing to do, and I think they pull it off incredibly well. And it's a fascinating, no pun intended, mirror to the original episode that I don't know, just did a great job. And I got to give a shout out to Measure of a Man.
Yes.
As my favorite Next Generation episode, I think.
Melinda Snodgrass, who wrote that screenplay, she'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, plug. There we
Yeah,
go.
look at the program. It's called A Measure of a Man. But yeah, she'll be here if you guys can come by this evening.
No, I'm curious. Everyone said the Mirror episode continues. How many people have seen that?
Which number is that?
3.
Thanks.
I'm surprised none of you said White Lotus. That thing blew my mind. It's like here's Kirk and all his
Right.
noise and sort of a joke, and then all of a sudden they're plunging into the psyche, not even like the shack.
I think it's
Wow.
fantastic.
I think every episode, it's so great. Every episode knows what it's doing, and it does that one thing to the T.
Full disclosure, we were there during the filming of White Iris, and I think it's an awesome episode, and I think you're absolutely. I like it for the exact same reasons. It's another bold thing for a show that is that loves Star Trek to delve into. But I also feel a little biased being there and hearing some of the lines. I don't know.
No, I do think the pacing for both of those episodes are completely different. And I think that the Mirror episode is just a little easier to jump into. But, you know, I've been reading the forums, I'm hearing what people are saying, and the White Iris has the strongest moments in the continues 4 episodes so far. I think most people are saying that. So, and episode 5 is coming out soon. I think it was like 2 weeks or something.
It's coming out at Salt Lake Comic Con, so I think it's 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. And keep your eyes open for that, and your ears, and your body, and your soul.
Do you have any questions? We like questions.
How much was your Kickstarter to do the documentary?
The Kickstarter was $2,000, and then, you know, Amazon takes what they want. Kickstarter takes 10%. So we got about 1,800 somewhere in there.
Wow.
Yeah. Our food
Yeah.
budget.
Wow.
Our food budget for 4 people for 4 weeks, $25.
I don't think we spent all of it. I don't think we.
Yeah, I think we got
did.
reimbursements, yeah.
So you own your documentary? You can like sell it?
That's an interesting question. Everyone has a different opinion about that.
I mean, you know, CBS would not like it if we did that. So we don't sell it.
We've never even had the intent to. We want to get it out there as broad as possible. But it is going to be distributed pretty soon here. We don't have an exact date, but Geek Nation's picking it up. They're getting a new website and they're going to distribute it. Basically, that means they don't own it or anything. I guess we own it, if anyone owns it, but we all own it. But they're basically taking over like marketing or something. They'll get it more views, and that sounds great to us. So they have a great site. They have a deep love for all things geek, and they seem like the right people to make it look nice, you know, to make it feel the way that it is in our hearts and in our minds. Thank you. Question.
You mentioned you had some financial difficulties. You had a very, if I understood earlier, I've got a bigger problem. So you mentioned you had a very small lighting grid. And with the wages and salaries of all the cameras and to the people, how did you overcome difficulties with the lighting? Like,
Yeah.
you know, cinematography and photography is all about lighting and mood, it creates kind of mood. So I would imagine a lot of imagination and creativity to overcome these obstacles.
Is this related?
Yeah, they have a problem with the power grid. They're like in a warehouse, and the power grid's not set up to handle. I think they're trying to upgrade that power grid, but that's what it is.
Okay, yeah.
I would like to point out, like, yes, we weren't associated with Star Trek Continues, but they've given us so much. That power grid that we are complaining about was not our power grid. That was given to us. Thank you, for that.
Yeah. It's like little, I do some electrical, so when you use a power grid, snap.
Mhm.
You got a lot of problems.
I'm sorry, did we answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
you did. No, I was just kind of wondering, like, how you overcame these difficulties, and this gentleman has answered it quite well.
I can add something
Yeah,
to that.
please do.
I can add something to that. To give you an example, okay, we were shooting actually 2 episodes at once. And when they came in, I was still prepping some stuff for the next episode. And so, for example, about how we had to share the grid, Chris came into me one day and he was like, I was foiling Raina's dress. I was ironing like the colors onto the dress, and I had to ship it to LA like the next morning or something. And he came in and he was like, "Do you absolutely have to use the iron?" And I was like, yes, I do. And like they literally like they just couldn't shoot while I was ironing that day. So like we felt so bad about it.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know you felt bad about that.
Oh no, no. It was like he said before. The producer that invited them never told us they were coming, so we couldn't like get ready for them. And we were trying so hard to figure out what to do about the grid
And they really
because
did.
it sucks for us the grid enough as it is, but we were trying to get a whole nother crew in there. So it was a little bit of give and take on both sides. We were trying to make it happen, but we're really proud of how it turned out. And we're glad that you guys came.
Thank you.
And to answer my man with the electrical question, basically when you saw hallway shots and things like that, most of the time that was lit by continues. We just happened to sneak in there like right before they started rolling, and they were nice enough to let us do that. But for the most part, when you see the bridge or you see them in the transport room, like they have some 1K Fresnel's lighting up the actual transportation room, and all we did was have just some really low wattage LED lights. We had two. That's all we did.